This is my Fujifilm GFX50S2, and it's powered by Sony. So what does that even mean? Taking the lens off the camera allows us to get a good look at the heart of the beast, which is the Sony IMX 161, a 51.4 megapixel medium format sensor. This sensor has a very long history in medium format. It's obviously found in this camera as well as other 50 megapixel medium format cameras from Fujifilm, many cameras in digital backs from Hasselblad as well as Phase 1, and even in a Pentax. So it's a 14-bit 51.4 megapixel 44 by 33 millimeter medium format sensor. Some people might say that this is not a true medium format camera when compared to, say, other 120 film formats like the one found in this camera right here. This is the Yashica Matte 124G, and it's a 6x6 medium format TLR. That means this camera shoots out positives or negatives that measure 6 centimeters wide by 6 centimeters tall. But the Sony IMX 161 is still quite a bit larger than your typical full-frame sensor. A full-frame sensor measures 24 by 36 millimeters, whereas this sensor measures 44 by 33 millimeters, which means the long end of a full-frame camera is just a little bit larger than the small end on this Sony IMX 161 sensor. But the size of the sensor in this camera isn't what makes it so special. Before I owned the 50S2, I owned the original 50S, and I love that camera. But it wasn't because of the camera itself. Ergonomically, it was pretty big and pretty clunky, but what I love so much about it was the sensor. The main reason why I love the sensor is because of the way it responds to the way I like to edit my photos. Not all sensors are the same, and every photographer is different, and we all have different ways that we like to edit or manipulate our photos. And the way that this sensor responds to the way that I edit my photos, particularly with the tone curve, is pure magic. Before we move on to the next section, I want to quickly interrupt and say that all the photos that you're seeing in this video were edited using my preset pack called Aurora Presets. If you're interested, it'll be the first link in the description. So back to the video. So let's finally answer the question, how good can an old sensor be? And the answer to that is amazing. Now, while this camera has my favorite sensor of all time, it isn't my favorite camera of all time, and that belongs to the 12-year-old Leica M240. And the reason why I love that camera so much is because it combines the best shooting experience I've ever used with a beautiful sensor. And this leads me to say that it's not all sunshine and roses on the sides of older digital sensors. You know, they do have their drawbacks, and newer and more modern sensors for sure will outperform them on a spec sheet. But photography isn't made on a spec sheet. It's made when you actually go out and take photos. The biggest reason why I wanted to upgrade from the 50S to the 50S2 is because of the image stabilization, because their guts are pretty much the exact same. The images will essentially look identical from the original 50S to the 50S2, but for me personally, IBIS was just such a big selling point and the main reason why I wanted to upgrade. Like I mentioned earlier, newer and more modern sensors do have an advantage over these older sensors in many ways, and the ones that immediately come to mind are autofocus performance, low light performance. I know a lot of these newer cameras have these crazy computers in them that have like AI autofocusing systems, and they're like 60 megapixel phase detection and face detection, animal tracking, eye tracking, all this stuff. But the way that I see it is, if you need those specs for the type of photography you do, that's perfect. Those are the cameras for you. But for me personally, I don't photograph anything that needs artificial intelligence to help me track my subject through a field and through crowds and crowds of people and stuff. I have a much slower approach to my photography, which is why, you know, a sensor like the Sony IMX 161 is very beneficial to me, and the camera like the Fujifilm GFX50S2 is beneficial to me because I just don't need all of those super modern features. You know, the sensor on this camera has only contrast-based autofocus, which is fine. If, again, for the stuff that I do, it works perfectly. Is it the fastest? No. Is it the most accurate? Probably not, but it does the trick. And, you know, if I was someone that needed a higher tech camera, I would have a higher tech camera, but that's not what I need. So to sum up this video, the Sony IMX 161 is by far my favorite sensor I've ever had the pleasure of using. They do have a newer version, I believe it's called the IMX 461, and that's the 100 megapixel sensor that's found in the GFX 100 series, as well as the Hasselblad 100 megapixel cameras like the X2D, the 907X, 100C, and I'm sure that sensor is amazing as well. I just have never had the opportunity to try it out. If you've made it this far, thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you have experience using this sensor in any of the cameras that it's come with, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. And if you like this video, please consider leaving a like or subscribing to the channel. It does really help me out a lot. And if you like this video, please consider checking out more of the videos on my channel. And if you're interested in seeing more of my work that's not here on YouTube, I will leave my Instagram on the screen right now, as well as linked in the description along with my website to check out more of my work. And I think that's where I'm going to end this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.